I am Katie Cummings with Pink Umbrella Theater, and I am the host this week for You've Got a Thing. So today I am being joined by Danielle, and Kamani is on her way. But we're just gonna kind of dive right in to their thing. So Danielle, would you mind just giving us a brief introduction of who you are and what your thing is?
Sure. Daniel Burkholder. I am a dancer and choreographer, and currently I teach at UWM. I've been there about 6 years. Before that, I was mostly based in the Washington, D.C. area. Spent a couple of years out in San Francisco. And Kimani and I, who you'll meet soon, she'll be here any minute. She's finishing up teaching. She teaches at Drew University in Jersey, so she'll be joining us soon. We have been collaborating for about 1.5 years on this project called Embodied Truth, Finding Ways to Move Together. And it really came out of conversations Kimani and I were having about being parents and thinking about what it means to be a parent in terms of race and gender and how that affects our parenting choices and how it affects our kids and the challenges, and opportunities that it offers. And so we started investigating it first as a duet and kind of explored that. And then last January, we started working with a group of Milwaukee-based parents and artists on creating a live kind of evening length version of the work. Of course, with the pandemic, we had to adjust our plans, and today kind of premieres Embodied Truth, Finding Ways to Move Together as a kind of performance on video. And it's being presented through Cooperative Performance. They're producing the video and the event, and that's kind of where we started. And it incorporates both movement, but also kind of spoken word and storytelling aspects to it. The parents telling their personal stories about being parents of their children and the challenges and kind of opportunities that being a parent offers in the world today. Yeah.
And I just I saw Alan posted earlier this morning. He just doing some closed captioning. So as a theater company who works on creating accessible theater, I was like, yes, like it'll be accessible as well. So you said you started in January, and then March, obviously everything kind of shut down, and so what were you meeting weekly? Were you already meeting virtually? Like how does that work? Because she's on the coast, right?
She lives in New York City, and Kimani came for 2 intensive weekends. Okay. So we would work with the performers, from Friday night all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday, and we had 2 weekends like that. And then I was meeting with them once a week, developing material. And the plan was kind of through March, that was the plan. And then as we got close to the May date, we were going to increase performances. So that was the arc. And Kimani was joining us. Hey, Kimani.
As Kimani joins us, Kimani is here.
Your name says Daniel Burkholder, so that's weird. That's confusing.
Because you sent me the link.
I know. Okay, so hopefully people won't be confused by it. You're going to change it?
I'm going to rename it.
Cool. So just to kind of finish up that question, so that was the process we were going through. And Kimani would sometimes join through like a live feed to the rehearsals. And then, as things got closer, we were going to increase the number of rehearsals and stuff like that. But obviously in March, things shut down. And in the summer, we started rehearsing again, all virtually with the cast and kind of redigging into the material.
You guys were already ahead of the virtual curve there.
A little bit.
Established a routine. I'm a little jealous. You guys, you had a minute to figure that out ahead of time.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like that though.
No, I'm sure it still felt like that rug was pulled right out. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it was kind of like the creative thinking on your toes, because we had it all, thinking of live in-person face-to-face theater versus creating a dance film. It's very different. So it took hours upon hours of like, how are we doing this? Reconfigure and rethinking and reshaping, and Daniel, God bless my Daniel, going out hours and hours, filming and then hours and hours of editing, so bow down, Daniel, bow down to the Daniel. Right.
We're all learning this brand, it's a brand new landscape, and and us too, right? Like, we're having conversations about, like, do we put traditional theater in this world, or do we, how do we do that? Or do we create new things for this world, for this virtual landscape? And creating a dance film is completely different from being on stage, the lights, and, and that audience feedback, verbal and nonverbal. So I hear you. Well, I'm so happy, Kimani, I'm so happy you made it. So we were just kind of talking a little bit about the thing, and then, the process, how the process started in January, and then converted into something different in March. So who are the two of you together? Tell me a little. I'm so curious about your relationship, and I know you met in school. So I want to hear a little bit about who are the two of you separate but together.
I'm looking at you, Kimani.
Do you want me? We are the silliest. We became close in college, and we went to Sarah Lawrence together. We were in the dance department together, and just became close. We danced in several pieces together, and so throughout the years, we also, during the time at college, we lived in the city together. Daniel worked for my parents. I know he loves to tell that story. They owned a restaurant. I'll save that for you, Daniel. And we just, from there, have just always kept in touch. And I think even throughout the years, we did some collaborations dance-wise. He'd come up to the city and I would dance in the show that he was putting on. So it was always, and then we connected for this project. How many years ago now?
Well, we really officially started working on it 1.5 years ago, but we started talking about it at least 2 years ago, if not a little longer.
Great. Just about us, our kind of trajectory of artist and parent, and how it was really interesting to kind of discuss these topics about raising, for me, my brown boy, and he raising his beautiful daughter, and just what we're bumping into as parents and artists dealing with race and gender. So it was just fascinating. I was like, Daniel, we have to do a piece about this. So that's how it all began. And we started collecting material, talking about things, and then like the creation began. But I will leave the how he knew me. Okay, your turn, Daniel.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Kimani kind of covered it all really well. There is the story of working in her parents' restaurant, which I do love to tell. Her father is just an amazing chef, and he's from Jamaica, and so it was a very small, kind of intimate restaurant that was kind of international cuisine with Jamaican flavorings. And it's definitely that time working there was when I learned how to enjoy and appreciate and desire spicy foods. Spice became something. Growing up in the Midwest, spice was a foreign thing. And so
I remember your diet at college. It was embarrassingly bad.
So we've been friends for decades, and there's a lot of history there and a lot of trust, and our families, we know each other's families, and so coming into working on this piece, I think gave us a lot of foundation to really be honest with one another and to push one another. And Kimani's very good at pushing back against me and challenging one another and just really supporting one another in kind of figuring out what this can be. Because when we started, we didn't really know what the outcomes were going to be. It was like we knew we had this subject, we knew we had this interest, we knew we had this common kind of desire to unwrap these things, but we didn't know kind of what that final product would be. And there really, I think we've gotten to a place where there's not going to be a final product. There's going to be multiple iterations of this exploration. And this dance film is one of those iterations, iteration I think we're both really proud of. And we got to work with some really wonderful artists here in Milwaukee to bring their stories and their experiences to life. But I think there definitely will be other iterations, whether they're live performances with these artists or other artists, whether it's more video work, whether it's teaching workshops for artists and for parents.
Mm-hmm.
We've taught some workshops for parents to kind of reflect on what it means to be a parent right now in the world. And so I think there's lots of possibilities for it to continue to evolve, both of our investigation and the kind of ways it's going to be in the world.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the different iterations, because as it started with the duet between us, so it's this really intimate piece that continues to grow in size and community and stories. It's just like this tapestry of beautiful parenting stories. And I just want to say the names of the people, Daniel. I would like
please.
to see the names.
Sorry, too many inside jokes.
Okay.
Go for it.
Go for it.
I think
I'm just watching at this point.
Yes. Oh, let me tell you that the most favorite thing to do with Daniel and me is laugh. So there's a lot of laughter. Okay, so we have Mare Colbrith, amazing dancer, artist, and professor. Rita Higgins, all are amazing. Tiffany Mayfield, Sarah Moore, Monica Rodero, and Dan Schuchart. Also music by Alvin Hill. And we have, so they're not necessarily in the film, but they were part of the process. Kelly, can you give me her last name, Daniel?
Rademacher.
And Becca
Bisbee, I think she just got married. Bisbee, it was Whitty, but I think it's Bisbee now.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to say their names.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm feeling the love between the two of you, and it's clear, like, that you know, intersect in lots of different ways. I would imagine, can we talk a little bit about the process then with these brilliant, amazing actors and artists and dancers? I would imagine that because the two of you are so comfortable with one another, bringing that into the room, was that helpful in having them find their comfort and their trust and their, vulnerability, I think is the word that I'm looking for. Can you talk a little bit about the process of creating the piece that people will see?
Yeah, so I think, we started in working with the duet, Kimani working with the duet, we really came up with a couple of kind of prompts that we use to develop material. And we brought those prompts into working with the group. And I think they were very successful in letting the artists kind of start delving into the material, but in a way also that we eased into it.
Sure.
And I also say that the artists themselves, were very giving and very open right from the beginning. There wasn't a lot of kind of resistance or stuff like that. I mean, the first weekend we were together, we did do a lot to build kind of a group trust and a group kind of agreements. We did a whole thing about agreements in the room, what do we agree to and stuff like that. So everyone helped form kind of the frame and kind of guidelines that we were working from. So I think that helped a lot. But one example is we had a couple of statements, as a parent statements, we call them, and we just asked them to finish them. So one of them is, as a parent, I feel most challenged when, and it's just complete that statement as many times. As a parent, I feel most affirmed when, complete that. And so there's a number of those statements as a way of kind of starting to kind of delve into reflecting on being a parent. And I think those tools were really useful, because I think some people were able to go a little deeper kind of quickly with those things. And you'll see those statements, some of them, we produced many of them. So some of them you'll see in the video as a way. So I don't know, Kimani, is there anything else?
Well, actually, Katie, are you a parent?
No.
No. Okay.
I have a dog.
Well, that makes you a parent.
As a
I'm a
parent of
dog
a
parent.
dog, as a dog parent, I feel most challenged when.
I was gonna just, I was going to throw these questions to you, but I think that the coming into the space, like how we hold the space, I think it was helpful. It would be my interpretation, my perception. You know, of course, asking them directly. I'm sure they might have something other to say, but it was definitely, the community was really intimate really soon, because I think of the questions and the exercises and the embodied ways of moving together, and also creating this collective where it's not a hierarchical structure of like, we are directors, you are the performers.
Mhm.
Everyone was kind of doing this together, and it was really a beautiful sharing.
Yeah, and I think in this time and space when we're trying to dismantle everything, right? Create new systems, and you know, I know I've been on the end of, you know, when we are creating that collective, and it's less of like who's in charge or who's the boss or those kinds of things. When you are creating those, like you mentioned, guidelines, you know, and you're creating that collective together, it begins to put people at ease almost immediately, because it becomes this collective, and it isn't about who's this, or, you know, that hierarchical structure that I was ingrained with. I won't speak for anybody else, but I came from, you know. So, and I love the statements, you know, like I feel most affirmed or most challenged by, right? Like what beautiful way to start those conversations, and then see kind of where it goes. We knew that we were going to run out of time, so I'm going to ask this question and then we'll kind of like wrap up. But what was your biggest discovery in this process for yourself and for the piece that you're presenting? What was the, I don't know, it could be a surprise or it could be a aha moment. What was that moment for you?
You know, I'll just say this really quickly, like in this time that we live in, and certainly in this political environment that we live in, and I feel like this is slightly different, but reflected in the piece, the process of the piece as well, is like sometimes hearing the parents. So I'm often these days, I'm shocked but not surprised, is kind of my statement. Like when I hear things happening in the world, you know, and especially recently, and I'm shocked, but not like, it's shocking, but it's not surprising. And hearing the stories from our collaborators, the parent artists, that I often found them shocking but not surprising. And that kind of, there's a little sadness that goes along with that, right? The challenges that all of us are still presented with, regardless of how much kind of progress that seems to happen, that it's so small compared to how far we need to go. And the other part is just, you know, there's just something so beautiful, and you see that to a degree in the video, definitely, but there is a little loss making it a video work in this time, because we don't have them together in the same space. We have Dan and Monica are married, and they're both in the piece, so they get some duet moments that they were able to create, which is really great to see people actually touching one another. But I do miss some of the group stuff that we had that was really about community. And it's a little, the video is a little bit more about solos kind of expressing their experiences. But even within that kind of intensity that sometimes we're in, seeing people touch and move together was really healing in a way.
Yeah, I think that the whole journey, like it we couldn't prescribe it. It kind of unfolded. So there were these like surprises along the way, right? And the big one was coming into this dance film. And in the space, what was so beautiful was the vulnerability, the intimacy. And I really think that what we did together as the collective, I feel like I get a sense of that with this film. And I hope that people will join us tonight at what time, Daniel?
7 o'clock
It's different
Central
night.
Time. Yes, 7 o'clock Central Time.
8 o'clock Eastern Time. And just to have a sense of that intimacy, vulnerability, understanding of like parenting and the complexity of it. So it's just a beautiful journey. The uncovering for me is always, it fills me so much. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. So we want to make sure this is not the end, right? This is just the beginning of this journey for this piece, right?
Yeah.
But let's just review where can we get tickets? How can we get tickets? What do we need to do?
Yeah, sure. The probably easiest thing is to go to cooperativeperformance.org. You can, it's cooperativeperformance.org, or just, search Cooperative Performance Milwaukee, and you'll find the website. And there on the homepage, you'll see the piece, and there's just ticket prices right there. You click on one of them, it takes you to Vimeo, which is where it'll be filming, and you just rent it for, I think it's 24 hours or something like that, kind of normal video rental there on Vimeo. And it's available to rent through February 7th. So it's going to be up for a couple months for people to take advantage of it and be able to find time to watch it. I'll just say there are 3 ticket prices, $15, $30, and $50. The only difference is that the ticket price is $15. When you click $30, that extra $15 is a donation that goes directly to the artists. And when you click $50, then anything about the $35 goes directly to the artist. It's a way of helping to support the artist directly. So that's why you see the 3 ticket prices. There's no difference other than supporting the arts. And then also on that page, you'll see that tonight, to kind of kick off today, Kimani and I and most of the cast are going to be having an online discussion about the work, about parenting, race, gender, whatever questions people have or things that come up. So you can find that also in the 7, as we mentioned, at 7 o'clock tonight. And you can also find a link to that on cooperativeperformance.org. And
at the end of the run, we will have another event that will be open to the public.
Yeah. So that's kind of end of January, somewhere in there. So.
My goodness. I mean, I could talk to the 2 of you all for the rest of the day. I'm so, like, my mind is exploding. Thank you for bringing us your, hi, who is this?
That's my big-haired son. This is Tamayo.
Mommy, Kano has a severe...
Yes, sorry.
Well, thank you for inspiring all of us in this work. Thank you for continuing the work. Thank you there's so many ways that you are, again, dismantling the system, breaking down those barriers, right? I love the fact that anything above $15 is going back to the artist. Like, I'm stealing that idea. That's genius. We should be doing all of those things for our artists as much as we can right now. So thank you so much for your time and energy in this process. It was so nice meeting both of you today.
Yes.
And we'll keep, let's just keep supporting one another and spreading the love and the joy that clearly emanates from both of you. Even with this barrier, I can tell how much you adore and respect one another, and keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you. Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Jamelyn, are you ready to chit chat?
I am. Yeah, it was dance is so great. It's just, I can't do it. I am, that dark and dirty theater style. But I just love hearing people talk about the art form, and just the verbiage that they use. And I mean, dance is, it's particularly like with my work, the vulnerability that I try to get to and those really deep connections. They do that stuff without words, and like it just, well, largely without words, but it just, and the tears and that. So it was. I'm glad that we could have them today.
Yeah.
So I just want to get into, and thank you for hosting.
Sure. That was fun.
We do have a couple of other things in the community that we should go over. Somebody has a digital donation drive going on right now. Does somebody want to talk about that? Artistic director of Pink Umbrella Theater Company.
Yeah, so today we reached our 4,000 out of 10. I know, and the reason that we did that, which I didn't even think about because I've got 8,000 things going on in my brain always, is that 3 of our donors submitted donations, but then they asked their workplace to match the gift, right? Like, I don't think about all that kind of stuff. So so the donors and then the matching gifts put us over that $4,000 mark this morning. So I actually just posted it on Facebook right before we came live here. But yeah, we have 6 more thousand to go, and our final day for that drive is December 1st, which is Giving Tuesday, which I know that this community knows a lot about. So, and then the other thing too that I just want to mention is that our students, our company members are producing their own talent under an umbrella, and they're submitting videos. So, so if you just want some joy in your life, stop by Pink Umbrella's Facebook page or Instagram, and we'll see somebody that Jamelyn knows and loves very well pretty soon. But these videos are our students and company members just doing what they love to help support this funding, this fundraising drive for us. And I know money is tight for families, and we are grateful for every amount that is coming in the door. It will help us continue to survive this pandemic, along with all of, hopefully, every single organization in this city, right? Like we're struggling, and I know that, and I appreciate the shout out. I appreciate any funds that are coming in.
You can honestly not help but smile when you watch your students. Like you cannot help it. They're the best. I also wanted, if you could mention just a little bit,
sure.
Your Teaching Artists Who Identify with a Disability monthly meeting, what that's all about.
Yeah, so we have 3 teaching artists right now who have stepped up to the plate. They identify with a disability. We have more teachers who do identify, but 3, Molly, Bethany, and Noah, have really kind of taken lead with this group, and it came out of we have a professional development session for all of our teachers to really get a handle on special ed, in the general sense, right? Because most of us are trained in theater. We're not trained in special ed. So we have a yearly PD, and out of that, one of the teaching artists who identifies said, "Hey, do you ever think about talking to teachers who have a disability and like what they might need in a classroom to work in the classroom, not just the students that we're teaching?" And they were like, "It's really, yes, we should have that." So so out of that came this group, the Teaching Artists Identifying with a Disability, and we're meeting monthly, and we have 10 people coming right now from across the nation. Actually, we put it out kind of to our Facebook groups and groups that they're involved in, and groups that I'm involved in, and Pink's involved in as an organization. And this month we're actually talking about how to work alongside a person who does not identify with a disability, and what that takes. Are there microaggressions there, intended or unintended? How do you navigate the workplace as an artist who identifies with a disability? So we launched last month. This is our 2nd meeting coming up on Tuesday.
That's awesome. I really love that. And you can find all stuff about Pink Umbrella at pinkumbrellatheater.org.
I know.
Right?
I got to be different.
Why not? Somebody's got to do it. And then our second week's host, Joanna Panasek from Milwaukee Opera Theater, that their company, which you can see in episode 1, talking about this project, This is an ongoing collaboration with the Cameron Opera Coalition, Tales from a Safe Distance. Their MOT's piece is the, oh man, I'm gonna slaughter this, Orsa Ibernata. And it was a really small unit. Crystal Wagner, and I forget the singer's name, and then Danny Brylo was, and then Jelena talked about how she was just batting mosquitoes. So you can go to MilwaukeeOperaTheater.org for tickets to that. That's all the way through the end of the year. But then they also have a voice lab coming up on Wednesday, November 18th from 7 to 9 p.m. This is an event that they do that's super cool. It's really just to help people continue their progress in whatever level that's at in this virtual world we all live in now. It's free. It's free. It's a safe environment. It'll make you feel good about yourself. So you can go to MilwaukeeOperaTheater.org for that. And then Skylight, who was the third week's guest. You can watch all these things. These are just ongoing events. We've got, this is the 4th episode of You've Got a Thing. It's a real thing. And they just extended Being Earnest through the end of the year. So it's a super cool virtual presentation of this really great take on, like, it's like Being Earnest meets Austin Powers kind of thing, small cast. And you can find out more information about that at skylightmusictheater.org. You can find out information about all Theater Alliance companies at the Milwaukee Theater Alliance.org. There were also a couple of other events that we talked about last week, just sort of like community things that Theater Gigante is looking for people to talk about some stories. Not sure about what that's about, but you can go to Theater Gigante's website on that. And then First Stage also had an event, something about a cactus. These are things I need to write down, but we talked about it last week. So if you go to the video of last week, are things that are only a half an hour long. Like, you can just bam, 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 bam. And that's what you got. So hopefully this was really great session. We'll need to talk to those two about if they're available to host next week, because we've got to keep this chain letter thing going. But we'll see. If not, you'll just get stuck with one of our faces again.
It'll be okay.
It'll be okay. But
we'll
be here.
We'll be here, and it'll work out the way that it's supposed to.
And it'll work out the way it's meant to. So we will see you next week with a new guest and a familiar host, likely. But that will be Thursday, Friday, something like that. We'll post it on the Facebook page. So if you haven't liked the page yet, do that. And we'll see you next week on You've Got a Thing.